Okay, so as an employer, bringing on new hires, it involves a lot of moving pieces. It feels routine sometimes.
It really does.
But tucked within that onboarding is something really critical and often overlooked that can lead to major headaches and, well, big financial penalties.
Yeah,
I-9 compliance. Getting this wrong, it can really expose your business, can it?
that's absolutely right. And that's why today's deep dive focuses squarely on you, the employer. We're navigating the essential and, yeah, sometimes intricate world of I-9 verification.
And all the related immigration rules you need to get your head around.
Exactly. We're drawing mainly from immigration law for HR, mastering I-9 verification and related regulations. That's our guidepost today.
Right. So our mission here, it's pretty straightforward, but honestly vital for your business. We want to equip you with the core knowledge you need to handle I-9s effectively,
hmm
avoid those costly errors we just mentioned, and, maintain a legally compliant workforce.
And just to emphasize, even like unintentional mistakes in this area, immigration law, they can have serious legal and financial consequences for your company. So, yeah, let's get straight into what you really need to know.
Okay, let's unpack the basics then, focusing on why this really matters to you, the employer. The Form I-9 itself, it feels like just another piece of paper, but it's much more than that, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. For you as the employer, Form I-9 is really the cornerstone document. It's how you verify the identity and the employment authorization of every single person you hire to work in the U.S.
And this isn't new, right? This comes from somewhere specific.
Correct. This requirement stems from the Immigration Reform and Control Act, IRCA. That was back in 1986.
Okay.
And that law put the responsibility, squarely on employers to check if their employees are legally allowed to work.
So 1986. But this isn't some, like, dusty old law nobody enforces anymore. We hear about immigration stuff constantly. How does I-9 fit into the picture today for
Mm.
employers?
Not dusty at all. What's really crucial for you to understand as an employer is that government scrutiny of I-9s, it's been a consistent priority. Doesn't matter which administration is in power, Democrat or Republican.
Ah, interesting.
It's just a fundamental part of federal law enforcement, and it directly impacts your hiring practices. It's not going away.
That's a really key point for employers to remember. Now, our source material points out that the Trump administration saw a real sort of intensification of focus on I-9s. What changed? What should employers have been aware of then?
Yeah, that period, roughly 2017 to 2021, it definitely serves as a big wake-up call for a lot of employers regarding their I-9 duties.
Oh, so.
Well, for one thing, we saw two updated versions of the Form I-9 itself released. One in 2017, then another in 2020.
Okay, so the form itself was changing.
Right. And these updates, they included things like clearer instructions, some changes to the codes for acceptable documents, even agency name changes, little details, but details employers had to keep up with.
So even the basic paperwork employers were using was a moving target. But it wasn't just the form, was it? The source mentions a big jump in ICE audits targeting employers.
Exactly. I see Immigration and Customs Enforcement, they substantially increase their employer audit activity.
How much are we talking?
Well, to put some numbers on it for your business planning, I-9 audits went from about 1,300 in 2017 to over 6,000 in 2018.
Wow.
That's a huge jump in scrutiny for employers in just 1 year.
Over 6,000 audits. That number alone should definitely grab the attention of any employer listening. And the financial hit for non-compliance, the penalties, they weren't small either.
Absolutely not. In 2018 alone, employers got hit with something like $95 million in fines just for I-9 violation.
95 million.
Yeah. And the average penalty per mistake, like a single error on a form, could go up to $2,700. And if they found you were employing an unauthorized worker, fines could soar as high as $27,000 per worker.
Per worker. Those are serious figures. That can really impact a company's bottom line.
Definitely. These are substantial numbers that can severely damage your company's financial health.
It really underscores why employers need to prioritize getting this right. The source also mentions E-Verify became more prominent for employers around this time. Can you explain what that is and why it mattered?
Sure. So what's important for you as an employer to know is that there was a big push federally to make E-Verify mandatory. That's the online system for checking employment eligibility.
Right.
Now, a nationwide mandate, that didn't actually happen. But many states went ahead and adopted their own E-Verify rules, maybe for certain types of employers or industries.
So depending on where you operate.
Exactly. Depending on where your business is or the kind of contracts you have, you might already be required to use E-Verify. And even if it wasn't mandated for you, using it started to look like, a sign of being proactive about compliance.
Okay, so even without a universal rule, the trend was towards more employers using E-Verify. And it sounds like the whole enforcement climate just got tougher for businesses.
That's a key takeaway for employers, yes. There were executive orders talking about hire American and increasing interior enforcement. The message was clear. The government was prioritizing enforcing immigration laws within the U.S.
And the I-9 form was central to that?
Naturally, it's the main tool for verifying a legal workforce. So it became a huge focus. The signal to enforcement agencies was basically go find unauthorized employment, and the I-9 was often the starting point for audits and investigations.
Right. This all paints a pretty clear picture of the risks employers face. In the source material, it really drives this home with a specific example of Asplundtree Experts Co. What happened there that employers should really pay attention to?
Oh, the Asplund case.
Yes.
That's just a stark and incredibly expensive lesson in I-9 noncompliance for every employer out there.
What was the damage?
They were hit with a record-breaking $95 million fine from ICE.
$95 million. Why?
Yeah. For knowingly employing unauthorized workers. It wasn't just about, minor paperwork errors. The investigation found systemic failures in how they handled I-9s and, critically, that they ignored clear red flags indicating many workers weren't authorized.
Wow. $95 million. I mean, that's a figure that could potentially shut down most businesses. What's the absolute must-know lesson for our listeners from Asplund?
The most critical lesson for employers is this. Ignorance is just not a valid defense, period.
You can't just say you didn't know.
Exactly. Even if you think your mistakes are accidental or just small oversights, if they lead to you employing unauthorized workers, the penalties can be massive, astronomical. And it wasn't just the fine. ICE also arrested over 1,000 workers at Asplund sites.
1,000 works.
Workers found to be unauthorized. Think about the operational disruption that causes. It can cripple a business.
Absolutely devastating. Okay, so as employers, we definitely understand the risks now. Let's pivot to solutions, practical steps. What can listeners do right now to make sure their I-9 compliance is solid? Our source has a great HR compliance checklist. Let's walk through some key points for employers. First up, using the right form and hitting the deadlines.
This sounds basic, maybe, but for employers, it's fundamental. You must always use the current version of Form I-9. You can always find it on the USCIS website. That's uscics.gov.
Always the latest version.
Always. And crucially, the deadlines. They are strict. Section 1, that's the part the employee fills out, must be done by their first day of work, no later.
By the end of day one.
By day 1. And Section 2, where your team reviews the employee's documents, that has to be done within 3 business days of their start date.
3 business days.
Yes. Missing either of those deadlines is a violation, plain and simple.
That 3-day window, it feels tighter than maybe some employers realize, especially with everything else going on during onboarding.
It can be, yeah.
Okay, next on the checklist, training your hiring staff. Why is this so critical as an investment for employers?
Oh, it's absolutely essential. For employers, making sure everyone involved in hiring, especially the people actually handling onboarding, looking at the I-9 documents, gets thorough, up-to-date training is vital.
Why specifically?
Because the rules around acceptable documents, the specific lists A, B, and C on the form, how to fill out the form correctly, and importantly, how to avoid discrimination, it can all be pretty complex.
Right.
Standardizing your I-9 process across the whole company, including having clear steps for remote hires, that's also key for consistent compliance. You don't want different offices doing different things.
That makes total sense. Consistent training, standard processes, key for minimizing errors across the board. Another recommendation for employers, consider enrolling in E-Verify. What are the direct benefits for a business doing that?
Right, E-Verify. It's that online system that lets you, the employer, electronically check a new hire's employment eligibility against government records, Social Security, Department of Homeland Security.
So it's an extra check.
It's an additional layer of verification, yes. Now, it's not required everywhere, but it can help you quickly sort out issues if there's a mismatch, what they call a tentative non-confirmation.
Okay.
And like we said, for employers in states that do require it, or if you have federal contracts, it might already be mandatory. But even if not, it's a strong tool to boost your compliance efforts. Shows you're taking it seriously.
It sounds like it offers an extra shield, potentially, for employers. The checklist also strongly advises doing regular self-audits. How often should an employer do this, and what are they looking for in their own I-9 files?
Yeah, regular internal audits of your I-9s are a really smart, proactive step. Every employer should consider it. It helps you find and fix mistakes before ICE shows up.
Find them yourself first.
Exactly. How often? Well, it might depend on your size and turnover, but at least once a year is a good baseline. Bigger companies might need to do it more often.
And what are you looking for?
Common errors. Things like missing signatures, missing dates, putting down the wrong document info, leaving fields blank, mismatched information between Section 1 and 2.
Okay.
And importantly, you need to know how to fix errors correctly if you find them. No whiteout, no backdating. There are specific ways to make corrections compliantly. Think of these audits as your internal early warning system.
Proactive self-audit sounds like essential risk management for any employer. Next up, keeping I-9 records organized. Best practices here for employers.
For employers, definitely keep your completed I-9 forms separate from your main personnel files.
Why separate?
It just makes them much easier to find and manage if you do face an audit.
Yeah.
You don't want to be scrambling through everything. Also, you need to be really clear on how long to keep them, the retention rules.
Right. How long is that?
Generally, for a former employee, you keep their I-9 for either 3 years from their hire date or 1 year from their termination date, whichever date is later.
Okay, the later of the two.
Correct.
Yeah.
And of course, secure storage is critical. This is sensitive employee data.
Good point. So not just file and forget. The checklist also highlights something important for employers hiring folks on temporary work visas: monitoring expiring work authorization.
Absolutely crucial.
Mm.
If your business employs people with, say, temporary work visas or employment authorization documents, EADs, you must have a reliable system to track when those documents expire.
What kind of system?
Could be a simple tickler file, a digital calendar alert, maybe your HRIS system has a feature for this. The key is setting up reminders.
And
Then you proactively remind the employee well before their authorization expires. Give them plenty of notice so they can take steps to renew or update their documents if possible. Because knowingly keeping someone on payroll after their work authorization expires, that's a serious violation for you, the employer. Big trouble.
that proactive tracking and communication could definitely save employers a lot of grief. Okay, next point is super important. Avoiding discrimination during the I-9 process. What does that mean practically for employers?
Right. As an employer, you have to be extremely careful not to over-document. Don't ask for more documents or different documents than what the law actually requires to complete the I-9.
Stick to the list.
Stick strictly to the list. The law provides specific options. List A documents prove both identity and work eligibility, like a U.S. passport. List B is identity only, like a driver's license. List C is work eligibility only, like a Social Security card. The employee gets to choose which valid document or a combination of documents they present from those lists.
The employee chooses.
Yes, and you absolutely cannot apply a different standard or ask for specific documents based on someone's accent or where they look like they might be from or any protected characteristic. That's illegal discrimination. Big legal risk there.
So consistency is vital.
Totally. And if you do use E-Verify, the general advice is use it for everyone at that hiring location. Don't pick and choose who you run through E-Verify, as that could also look discriminatory.
Consistency, stick to the rules, let the employee choose the documents. Key takeaways for employers there. Finally, the checklist advises employers: stay informed, keep up with changes in immigration law and I-9 rules. How can they realistically do that?
Yeah, for employers, staying informed really is your best defense. Things change. Subscribe to email updates from the official sources, USCIS, ICE, DHS. They put out alerts.
Okay.
And follow reputable legal news sources or HR publications. They often provide analysis of rule changes or shifts in enforcement trends. Immigration law isn't static. Staying current lets you adapt your practices proactively. Avoid getting caught out by a change you didn't know about.
That's all incredibly valuable, practical advice for any employer listening today. So just to sum it up, keeping up with I-9 compliance, it isn't just about dodging those huge fines we talked about. Ultimately, it's about building and maintaining a legal, fair, and respectful workplace for everyone you employ.
That's exactly right. And maybe for you, the employer listening right now, prompts a critical question. In this complex regulatory world, how truly confident are you that your current I-9 processes are, well, audit-proof?
Yeah.
What small changes, maybe, could you implement starting tomorrow? Reviewing your onboarding, beefing up staff training. What could you do to significantly lower your risk and just get that peace of mind that your business is compliant?
Some really important things for every employer to think about. Thank you so much for taking this crucial deep dive into I-9 compliance with us today.
Thank you, viewers, for watching. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your colleagues. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking that subscribe button below so you never miss out on valuable insights. I'm Brian Edmonds, signing off. See you in the next one.